Hello, everyone, and welcome to Angel Meadows Radio. I am Mama D, your host. My show is called A Conversation with Friends because I believe everyone is a friend we have yet to meet. This show is where you get to know new friends or get reacquainted with old friends. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the conversation. Hey everybody, and welcome to another Sunday evening with A Conversation with Friends. Today my friend is, I'm not even going to try your last name because I looked at it and I went, I'll either add a bad French accent to it or I'll just massacre it altogether. But it's Adam the Black Swamp Medium. So Adam, first off, tell me how you pronounce your last name.
And thank you, Mama D. Yeah, it's pronounced Wizlek.
Wizlek. Okay, that's not so bad. I can get that one.
So you kind of the C goes a little bit silent and the S kind of turns into a Z. So
that's cool. Okay, but I'll get it because what I do is I usually associate it with things. Now that may not be nice because sometimes the association doesn't work out too well. But hey, Gina, but I got it stuck in my head now. And I forget it.
And you know what? And you wouldn't be the first person to say, how do you do that or butcher it, when trying to do it. So it's fine.
I'm real good at butchering names, and most of the time because I'm from Quebec. I'm used to French words, right? So some people will have the English version of the French name, but I'll still add a French accent to it. I was like, it's just like, okay, this doesn't always work out. Right. But let me warn you something. Usually, 95% of the time, there's a glitch in my show, which usually means my internet or something knocks me out of the show. So if that happens, hey, Jay, if that happens, just keep talking like I'm not here because I won't be, but I'll be back.
No problem. Yeah, I actually have had that happen once before too for one of my shows, and I did the same thing. But the problem was I had to reboot everything before you get back in to kill the show off. So
yeah, but what's good about it, especially with StreamYard, is that it doesn't end the show.
Right.
Hey, Eric. We're getting that. Eric and Teddy. We're getting quite a few into the couple that you might know. A guy named Lynch, Jay. I think we know him.
We do know Jay. Good guy.
An adorable troublemaker.
Yes. That's awesome.
Oh, look, we even got Tina. Okay. I'm being told that your sound is low, so I don't know how. Because I actually had to turn you down in my headphones, so.
Okay.
Teddy will love, Teddy will love Adam, that's for sure. Okay, a quick, who's Teddy? Eric Glyn Jones in the chat room is a friend of mine. He's a medium from the UK, and his guide is Teddy. And Teddy has a handlebar mustache, and he's very special, let's put it that way. The first time that Eric met Teddy, Eric was in the shower. This was some 10 years ago, and then he heard this weird male voice, and he knew he only lived in the house with his wife. And it's not the first time he's had guides, but the first one that's ever joined him in the bathroom while he's showering. So it's like, Teddy's an original. Yeah. So's Eric for that matter, but yeah.
All righty. Well, if he decides to pop in, we'll have some fun.
Oh, goodness gracious me, yes. Well, for those people who do not know who you are, tell everybody a little bit about you.
Sure. I'll try not to go too long because
that's okay.
But
like I said, I give my husband 2 hours worth of foods to snack on, so we got.
That's perfect. I call myself a little bit of more of a late bloomer. So yeah, I do psychic mediumship. I do remote viewing, paranormal investigator, musician, show host, and so among some other things that always elude my mind, but
and then we remember them during the show. Go, oh yeah, and I do. So good. Right. Don't be afraid. Just chime it in when you remember them. Right. And if you don't, just put it in the chat. Go ahead.
But no, I mean, like I said, I classify myself as a late bloomer in this world, this metaphysical area, because growing up, I didn't have a lot of the things that most mediums do. I mean, since their earliest memories, they are seeing and talking to people, and I didn't have imaginary friends. But it wasn't till because I'm in my early 40s, and it wasn't till Even though you could think I'm older with the gray beard, but uh, but I in the 80s, I started out of weird things. I started having psychic moments,
Okay.
and it would happen basically almost. It was really in a dream, and I would wake up the next day after everything was so vivid. I mean, everybody has dreams that are really vivid, and you can remember tons of details. Well, I knew mannerisms, I knew clothing, I knew, where people were in the room, and what the situation was about, and all before it happened. And then the next day it would happen, it would be like, you know, and the weird thing was it's always tragic news. It was always when
Ooh.
somebody was passing away. So it was weird. And at early age, I was just barely, double digits at that point, and it was like, what's going on? But I never told anybody about it because
Hmm.
most of us know, 80s and
Yeah.
things were taboo. You just didn't
Oh yeah.
talk about weird
Oh
stuff.
yeah.
So, um, so it happened several times, with some more tragic, deaths in the family, and then forgot about it for a little bit because I went to college and things. Got out of college, got a job, and the psychic stuff started popping up again. And
Hmm.
this time it was just happening at weird things. And the one I always like to tell people, and I always get people to crack up because us old timers would know this, is that anybody that's ever seen the cartoon Rocky and Bullwinkle, or at
Oh
least you've heard of
yes.
it.
Oh
So
yes.
I was driving, driving home from work, and I just kept seeing out of nowhere, I kept seeing Rocky and Bullwinkle, and it just kept popping up. I'm like, I don't understand why this is popping in. I wasn't thinking of cartoons. I wasn't nothing.
Hmm.
And so the very next day I get to work, and, everybody's getting together before we're going out to do our jobs and things. And everybody starts talking about old school cartoons. And then I'm like kind of sitting back in my chair going, what? And then somebody goes, do you guys remember Rocky and Bullwinkle? Oh my God. I'm like, and
Yeah.
so now it's like, and then happening more frequently and it weird things, but it was always something for me, something I was going to be subjected to.
Yeah.
But oh my gosh, it was just so amazing, and I just was taken back by it. And so I got married in 2004, and then in 2005, I was before getting married, I was really looking into, because growing up I was a nature kid, I mean,
Hmm.
Boy Scouts, Cub Scouts, and camping. My family and I would go camping, and just loved being outdoors. I was just so connected to it. And a famous show that most people have heard of as Survivor, the game show,
Oh gosh, yes.
and it brought back those memories of being out there. And I said, well, what happens? I mean, I remember, being a Cub Scout, Boy Scout, you have to be ready, always be prepared.
Yes.
That's the motto.
Hmm.
Well, what happens if you don't have any of that stuff? What if you're just not ready? What do you do? How do you survive? So those were flooding. And I said, you know what? We should, I tell my fiance, but then, eventually wife, I'm like, let's take a class. Let's do a survival class. And so we found a school in our state, which I live in Ohio, and it's out of Cleveland. It's called Midwest Native Skills, and absolutely fell in love with it. And the only reason why I bring up about the survival stuff is that it was great to get back. Oh yeah,
No, I was just giving a thumbs up. Gina moved to the computer, and the sound is much better. So I'm glad.
okay. Um, but yeah, but there was a couple classes in the list of things that they taught, and one of them, or two of them really, were called Shamanic Journeys 1 and Shamanic Journeys 2.
Hmm.
And you kind of heard some rumors of shamans and things like that, but you always thought it's this, deep out in the indigenous woods and forest and jungles that these shamans are and stuff. But you never anticipated anything like this being around, you know, North America, and such.
Yeah.
But because even then, like, I never really heard much of that in Native American folklore and their spirituality and things, but it just kind of took me back, and reading the description, learning to connect with your guides, because we all have them. And if you're religious, you call them angels. And
Yep.
so I'm like, this really sounds interesting. And so I started having these weird sensations, like, I really need to look into this. So I said, when we get to the class, which was a week long, I was going to ask the head guy, who runs the school. I said, "What's these classes all about?" And you know, when I brought it up midweek, he kind of gives me this, like, cheeky grin. He's just like, like, "Oh, okay. Is this for real? Is he really going to be serious, or is he just trying to, hear how hokey or whatever it is?" But I
Hmm.
was into it. I was truly into it, and he basically we went through the whole thing, and I won't talk that much about it, but yeah, he it was like, I'm in. I mean, it was just like you felt that pull, you felt that urge, and I was like, this is a move I need to make. And so sure enough, it was a couple months later, towards the fall, that I took Shamanic 1 and 2, and it just opened up an entire new world for me.
Wow.
So
I think when we're drawn to something, even though like you were drawn to it, but you weren't into it at that moment in time. But the reason we have to pay attention to our intuitions, our gut instinct, and that just like is because there's a meaning behind it. You
mhm,
know, there's always, as much as hokey as it sounds, everything happens. I believe everything happens for a reason, good, bad, and otherwise. It happens for a reason,
yep,
and it's you being drawn, just like you say, being drawn to shamanism, the shamanistic voyage.
yep,
It's like it's perfect.
yep. And like you said, it really just all lined up. I mean, being with nature, and that's what the shamans now. Yeah, I'm not truly living a 100% shamanic lifestyle. I've kind of made it modern because
Yeah.
I wouldn't be doing anything like this.
No.
But there is ways to blend everything, and it's not like it can be any other way. Now, I'm a family guy, I'm married, I have kids and stuff, so I mean, I support all that, and I still have to
Hmm.
hold a normal job because I
Yep.
even with doing all this, I still don't make enough to pay the bills, so to speak. So
Know that
but,
feeling.
yeah, but I mean,
But
it's been a great journey so far. Oh my gosh.
But I think that's something that's important, that a lot of people will sit there and go, okay, he's a shaman. First off, the way I understood it is that you are always on a shamanistic journey. You are not 100% shaman
Right. Yeah.
until you pass. And I was like,
Right.
okay, look, I don't want to be a shaman anytime soon. Thank you very much.
So
But
cool.
I think that, like for me, I'm a Reiki master, and my understanding of Reiki before I took the course was like, it sounded interesting, but it always, the price level was up there too high for me.
Mhm.
And when I met my Reiki master, it was he attuned me as a gift, and there was a deal we had to make, that I had to promise to give back. And I was like, I do that all the time. It's no, but you have to promise. And that was like, hello, yes, no problem. So he taught it to me this way, but I have my own, it's like my own way of doing things. It's like I always say, is like you give 10 cooks, 10 bakers, all the ingredients to bake cake. Every cake will taste differently, because every baker will add their own little, an extra dash of this or too much of that, or whatever the case may be. So everything is, I don't believe anybody does it exactly the way you're taught, because you have to add your own flavor to it.
Right. Mhm.
So anybody who wants to start something, do it, and don't be petrified that you can't do it exactly the way you're taught during the course, during the tests. You got to do it that way. But when you get back on your own, you will, find out how to do things that you want to do the way you want to do it, instead of doing it this way. You just turn around and do it that way. No
Yeah.
difficulty in it.
And it's a natural way of it. It's not, I mean, it's one thing to have that urge, but it's a natural way of, things unfolding in front of you. I mean, like when I started,
Hmm.
I had nothing to, I had no, you heard the term mediumship, but that was it. I didn't
Oh
know a
yeah,
ton about it. And even then, during the 80s, some of the early documentaries in the paranormal, you would occasionally see a medium come on and it's like, oh, that's something, that they're born with or what, in a way, like there's like this whole thing. I'm trying to logically, put
yeah,
that mind to it. But you know, even then I'm constantly having doors open. It's like once I feel like I'm comfortable enough, the next door opens up and I'm able to, what and if the door opens, it's meant for me to take that
yeah,
step through. So like the mediumship, I kept seeing more and more of the shows, especially when they became popular, the reality ones. And I'm like, you know what? I wonder if there's a way I can take what I've done so far and blend it over. Can I, instead of talking to just my guys, can I talk to some other
yeah.
spirits? And so I went under some mediums wings and sort of learned from them and started opening that door, and that was another thing that just felt right. I felt pulled to it. And now, I do, messages and things of various sorts. I help with, paranormal investigations. And a lot of times, especially, the past year, we've been locked down. So my
Yeah,
remote viewing has become such a hot item because you can't go anywhere, but
yeah,
still be highly effective in what you're trying to achieve.
yeah. Exactly. I know a few people who do remote viewing. I've never been able to remote view, but what I do, the first time it actually ever happened was it was all Jay Lynch's fault.
Yeah.
I was watching them do an investigation at 101 Cafe,
Yes.
and I was getting such I don't know what feeling such connections to things that were going on. And when I messaged back and forth with Teresa and Tina, they were going, "Yep, that's exactly okay, fine."
Yep.
But this had never happened to me, so I was like, "Okay." So now every time Paranormal Mysteries is on, I got to watch just in case. You
Yeah.
know?
Well, and it's neat because you do. It's in a way it is. It's like you're just making a phone call like we are, we're in different areas and we're just sort of we're making an electronic connection, but the
Yeah,
same goes just for what we all do. We can be on the phone and do messages to each other, and get messages from the other side or do remote healing and things like that. It's all there. It's all possible and everybody just has to be open to it. That is wanting to receive it.
yeah, exactly. Now, Gina, who is my co-host on Thursday night in the Fox Den, she has a question for you. She says, "What is your paranormal investigator background?"
Yeah. So basically, like I said, when the show started coming out, like after 2000 and things, Ghost Hunters was the first real major breakthrough show that was on, weekly kind of thing, and I loved it. My wife and I would watch it and just be, or even then, fiance at the time, we just loved watching it, and I was like, gosh, it'd be kind of fun one day to do that too, and you know, back then, there was teams, but there wasn't teams everywhere like there is now.
Yeah.
So I tried, researching it, because the internet and it, wasn't finding much. Or if you find something, they're, hours and hours away, driving wise. And it's like, that's, a long round trip in a day,
Yeah.
so but eventually what happened is in 2012, I said earlier I'm a musician and my dad's a musician and he was playing a job, gig for a function, and it was at a location that I'm at now, and it's called the Old Mill and Museum in Dundee, Michigan. And essentially, they had little flyers on a break. He saw these little flyers that says, "Hey, ghost hunts here." And so, we've talked about ghost hunting together.
Hmm.
He I mean, I'll never forget it. The next, he was a Saturday night, thing, and he's the Sunday morning, he's calling me up. I mean, he's exhausted, for playing for hours. But he's like, I got this. No, we got to do this ghost hunting thing. I'm like, okay, okay. So, we ended up, signing up and we it got bumped once because of some scheduling issues. And so it ended up being in April of 2012. And, again, we were watching the shows, but we didn't know better than to not do exactly what you see on TV. There
Yeah.
is a correct format to most of it. So sure enough, we took it easy and I had some friends from work that wanted to go, and my dad and my brother, we just had this cool, smaller group, and we all got together and investigated the old mill. And that really was the breakthrough moment. But I was so drawn and so thrilled, of that evening, that for the next from April to December, I showed up 4 more times for a total of 5 at the same spot, same location. And because it just kept calling me back, and not in a, scary way. It was just, I'm intrigued. What else can I learn? You just all these other things. So I just kept doing that, and eventually the following year in 13, the team, in a way absorbed me into their ranks, unbeknownst to me for a little while, because I got involved into text messaging, and they were just like, I'm like, why are you guys texting me? Because it's like, I mean, it's cool that you are, but they're just like, oh, well, you're part of the team now. And I'm like,
Oh, really?
so
When did that happen? Thank you for letting me know.
it was the greatest thing ever. But it was, so, but I wasn't there. I'm not trying to, take over. I mean, I was much there to learn because they've been doing it longer than I have, and
Mm.
that's obviously key. Anybody that does this for the first time, I mean, get connected with everybody around you, learn from those people, ask them to tag along. I mean, we do that when people come and they're brand new, or use us as trigger objects
Yeah. Okay.
because our spirits know us real well. And if you're not getting much, come on out, we'll tag along and get the activity moving a little bit. And it's not like we're doing anything. We're just walking in the room, so, but that's where it all started. It's that's my background. And obviously, I mean, I've been at the old mill, I mean, since 2012, and, hundreds and hundreds of times now, whether it's we're helping out or we're just hosting, public and private investigations. We hold a parafest there. And so, I've really got my feet wet, and then I got connected with other groups that host great locations in and around Michigan and Ohio and Indiana. And, eventually you get connected and go to the other ones that have been on TV. But yeah, I mean, it's constant. I'm still learning. I definitely don't know it all. I'm never going to say I know it all, period. I mean, because you're always learning something from somebody.
Yeah. Tina, she says, I love to investigate the old mill. It's on my to do list.
Right. Yeah.
I'm sure that once our borders open up, because Tina's up here in Canada, but she's also part of the Paranormal Mysteries team.
Cool. Yeah.
So
She'd love it. I mean, I know I've been trying to get some of them to come over. Like I bug Jay and Jason a lot. I'm like, hey, you guys
don't
want to
bug
come?
them. Just tell them, Jason, get your asses over there now. Well, okay, not right now, but just wait till
Right.
it's over.
We've kind of got a slow opening right now because some of the restrictions have opened up. We can only have 10 at a time, which is fine because, I mean, we would
Yeah.
only max out at 15. So we try to keep, the contamination things down, but absolutely have a field day with that. And, I always love seeing friends come out and get to enjoy, and you get to share what we experience, and hopefully they can, get the same thing.
Yeah. I've always said I've never done paranormal investigation.
Right.
I've always been curious about it, like everybody else. I've seen this stuff on TV. I have watched Jay and his crew and a few others on Facebook Lives, but I know every time I say this, I know I'm getting myself deeper and deeper into debt. When I do an investigation, it will be with Jay and his crew, because unfortunately or unfortunately for me, I trust Jay, and I know that he does push people, and I kind of think that, but I'm sure once the tears start to flow, he'll just back off a little bit.
Well, and Jay can take a punch. So, I mean, you could
Okay,
certainly,
then I can smack him. There you
yeah, you
go.
can smack him. I mean, he'll just laugh.
There you go. Jay, if I smack you, Adam said I could.
Oh,
No, no.
right. Yeah. He'll be fine with it. He's cool. So,
Not, I'll just hide behind Bodine. I'm good.
right. Yeah. Yeah. That's true. That's true.
Oh, my co-host on Thursday night, Gina, you'll have to come with me. I don't want you to get mad at me. And Tina, I actually got to meet Tina Perret Duchesne. Hey, Scott. I got to meet her last summer. Now, I have never had the chance to, and it was like old home week. There was Tina, there was Jax, there was a couple of guys who weren't supposed to be there but were there, and I was like, okay, I'll feed y'all. Just hush, give me hugs first. We all had our masks on. We were all, behaving somewhat.
Yeah.
But it's just this team. What the first time I saw them on air, I think I saw Jay and his wife, or Heard actually, on I can't remember the name of the show. Sit, chat, and laugh with the Lynches, and I love their energy. I love the vibe, and I think Jay is funny as all out, and it was perfect to follow them because they just had a nice feel to them.
Yeah, great energy. I
Jay,
mean, and that's where a lot of it, happens. We don't need the people that are out there to try to cause issues. Obviously, we all know the shows that do provoking and things like that, and we obviously that's the wrong thing to do. And
yeah,
we even talk about that at the old mill. We talk about how provoking is really not the best idea, and we even give you an example that happened, which wasn't truly terrifying, but it did get people's attention. So yeah, we showed that that's not the way to go about it anywhere. And so we're not big fans of those that try to push
yeah.
things too much.
No, I'm not. I'm the very low key. I'm the very, like, if you want to talk to me, come. We'll have a sit down chat, but don't be touching me, because
And that's
I will be the one in the middle of the room screaming like a banshee. I'm telling
that's completely fine. And you know what, and for those that if they do go ghost hunting or parent, whatever you want to refer to
you.
it
Yeah,
as, you when you get in and you go to each room, you state your case, whether you say it out loud or you say it within
mhm,
your mind. you know Look, I'm here to communicate, but I am asking you not to touch me.
Yeah.
And be serious. Don't do it timid and be afraid of it. Just be straight up. I mean, you have to take a stand to a certain degree. And
Yeah.
so like I have people all the time, well, what happens if something comes home with me? And I always say the classic, I said, do you want them to come home with you? They're like, well, no. That's the attitude.
Yeah.
You don't it's not rocket science
Yeah.
sometimes to like
Exactly.
you don't want something, you just basically state before you walk out the door, anything that's around me, you are here to I'm asking you to stay. You're not coming home with me. I'm going to my home where am going to be alone, or however you want to word it for yourself. But
Yeah.
you know,
Exactly.
yep,
There's a young lady in the chat, Claire Louise. She's up in the UK. She said she would love to do an investigation in the States,
yep,
and why not? There's
yeah,
so many people. I mean, so many people are here and over in the UK that we get to meet each other on Facebook, and other social media places. That, I mean, why not? If somebody says, okay, come on over and I'll have a place for you to stay. I live out in the boonies, so that's why my internet's kind of like, yeah. But there's always that chance.
yeah. Mhm.
And Bart is in Pennsylvania. Bart, do you know Gina? She's in Pennsylvania. She calls it Pennsyltucky. I have no idea why. But she's an hour away from Philly, which is where my husband's from. So I know it's a good place.
Okay. That's great.
Okay.
Yep,
Eric has something to say. Is it
I think I
Adam?
see
Oh,
that.
boy.
Yep,
Yes, let's pop that in there.
yep.
Say, Adam mentioned that during the last year he's been working with his guides to increase his connection with other spirits. Teddy is saying he has a strong connection to Native American warrior who walks with a wolf. When he connects to spirits visually, this spirit guide his thoughts and visions, and they use his many spiritual strings to connect. There we go. Teddy's
Uh,
there.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, that's pretty accurate. I think because of the fact that you know the being connected to nature, the class is basically been passed down from Native Americans, and it's actually been um, passed down from the Lipton Apaches, which are more of a southern part of the country, so Texas and even northern parts of Mexico. Uh, but that's basically the tribe that a lot of the teachings, obviously, there's variations, but
Mm-hmm.
the majority of what was taught was that's how it got to me. And so I've always been affiliated in some way. I do not have any DNA of Native American blood in me. Uh, but I remember as a kid growing up that I would always root for the Native Americans and all the old westerns and everything.
Yep.
Even though we always knew what side was gonna win, I still
Yeah.
was rooting for them.
Yeah,
And
exactly. Come on, kick butt.
right, just once. I mean, and even then when you learn really what the history is that, there was battles won, but
Yes.
it just always was on my mind. And so there, even when we've gotten to more modern times and they started making movies that involve Native Americans and they started depicting them better and showing
Yes.
that, their side of things. Um, One of my favorite movies of all times is Last of the Mohicans. And you know it's a story, but at the same time, just how everything kind of intertwined between the settlers and the Native Americans, and just some of the dynamics that you see. And again, not only the book but even the movie is kind of cool too. but
Yeah.
but that set it off. And obviously there's been more movies since. I know the New World was a great movie. It was a little bit more of a thinking movie.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember seeing the makings of that one, and the way they approached the Native Americans and how they wanted to present them and do it as accurately as possible, and getting all the information from the elders so that way they got it right. And I can appreciate that, and you can see that in the film. So that was that's another favorite of mine. You know, because yeah, there isn't a day that doesn't go by that I don't think of Native Americans.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm not in my music in 1 second. Um, the one thing I do for the music side of things is, I mean, I grew up playing stuff, but the thing I do the most now is I play the Native American flute.
I've heard.
So
I kind of Facebook stalk you.
there you go. Yeah, so,
As I said, I'm a nice Facebook stalker. I warn everybody. I'm gonna stalk you. But you were saying you don't have any native blood now, but have you ever done a past life search?
I've done it through one session with a good friend of mine who was a medium and does that. We did go back one and did connect with one. Um, I'm blanking on the name that was. It's just eluding me at the moment. Maybe I'll think of it. But yeah, I mean, it was weird because we started talking about things, and one of the things I have anxiety from a previous job, and it was weird because it was always hit me straight in the center of the chest.
Hmm.
Well, apparently during the past life regression, uh, I was a Native American warrior, that sort of thing, and I ended up being shot by another Native American with an arrow in the chest, and that's where a lot of my pain resided from.
There you go.
I'm like, and I was kind of like taken back and just like floored. So I mean, um, I look forward to going further and seeing what else, because I know there's some other things that are definitely brewing, whether it's another one more uh uh session back, where there's Native American, but I know there's some other things even further beyond that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
but
I think past life regression is an amazing thing. I've done it once with a friend, and she brought me back, and she connected me to things that I never even thought of. I just sort of, like, I've always been drawn to the native music. When you hear the drums, like my kids when they were growing up, and we'd watch the parades, and they'd have the drums of the forces and whatnot. The kids would be like, "Oh my gosh, mom, that resonates through my whole body. It makes me feel weird," and I thought that was cool. Even now, for me to actually, it's rare that I can actually sit still and listen to music, but I will listen to the drumming. I will listen to the flute, and it's like, and I never connected it, but when my friend did the past life regression with me, it seems that, as cliche as it sounds, I was this little white girl who was taken by the natives to be the playmate for the chief's daughter.
oh,
But I aged through. I grew up with them. I never wanted to go back to never wanted to go back to the white people.
right.
I can see why now, and I ended up marrying a man later in life. But this is how I. So I said, oh, it kind of makes sense as to why I'm drawn to all that stuff, and a few
Amazing how
other
that,
different lives. But it's like, ooh,
when it all starts connecting, you just can't help but just be like, okay, all right. I
and it's
love that.
like, yeah, it's like my family history. There was the possibility that one of my relatives married the daughter of a chief back. So my uncle who passed away had been given a book about this blastedly thick of our family heritage. So I'm going, okay, I'm going to look at that. And
Right,
so that was my great 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 grandfather, but it wasn't. It was his brother. So I have no actual blood, but the connection is still there. It's
right,
it's it's in the family. Sorry, this
right.
is Onyx, and he's being a snoot. He wants to be up. So
That's okay. Hey, everybody's got to, come hang out every now and then.
he usually does, but he's in a pouty mode because my daughter just left. She was up for the weekend, and she took her little dog. Um, both of them were in heat, so he's like, "I'm all depressed." It's like, okay, poor baby.
Right. Oh, good
What are you
times.
talking about on the show tonight? Oh, my dog's being in heat. That's good.
Right, right. It's good. That's a good topic.
So one thing I have that this sort of it irks me,
Mhm.
but when people go, "Who are you and what do you do?"
Right.
Like you've got the name Adam the Black Swamp Medium. Medium for me that blocks you into to but that's only one small part of you. Like for
Okay.
me, when people say, "What do you do?" I was like, "I'm a healer."
Yeah.
Makes just sort of covers everything because whether it's in paranormal investigation, mediumship, psychics, card readers, tarot readers, whatever, they're always healing somehow, body, mind, and soul.
Mhm.
Something gets healed, so I think it's a healer. But why Black Swamp?
So, well, as you said in the very beginning, it's very difficult to say my last name, and so much like my music, I have a stage name for that, and because I wanted to come up with something that was at least easy to remember, but yet still kind of throw a little bit of a mystery into it. So the Black Swamp, basically, where I live in northwestern Ohio, and I'm real close to the Lake Erie and Michigan border. from about Cleveland, so about middle of the top of the state, all the way just kind of pouring into Indiana. There was I think it's like a little over 200 or 220 some miles that there was what was referred to as the Great Swamp. And my city, just the top I was like literally the city I live in was right on the edge of it, just enough in, but all this black swamp was all over, just went from all that whole 200 some plus miles. And there's a lot of different companies that use that kind of terminology and things, and I kept thinking, what's the one way to just kind of for me to pay homage to where I live, because I'm very proud of where I live.
Mhm.
And there's a lot of history here. I mean, there's so much history just with my town alone that people wouldn't know it unless you kind of dig into it. But I just thought it was cool, and I thought it was an easy way to kind of again pay homage to where I live, but then at the same time, you know, make something kind of catchy, but like what's make people more intrigued over it. and
People are
and
curious as to why the black. I had to ask why the black swamp.
yeah, and I'm not and even then it's not meant to be like dark or anything like that. It literally was because the swamp was a very black color. And so they said the Great Swamp, but most would say when they looked at it, it was more black in color. So
Okay.
but yeah, it just was something kind of fun to do. And yet it, you know people will be like, oh, the Black Swamp medium, okay, got it, and they type it in there and it makes more sense. But if I just say Adam Wislick, they're just like, huh? So
And,
I wanted a catchy
and you
little
and
bit.
it also makes you the only one.
True. True.
Because have you ever Googled yourself and see
I
what they say?
did. I did, because I wanted to make sure that nobody else would have the title, so I did. So
Yeah.
uh, but it worked out, and nobody else had it. And um I'm still expanding that stuff. I mean, down the road, I was kind of hoping last year to have a website and things. So right now I'm still using Facebook just because it's free at the at the present time. And so
Trust me,
uh,
I have tried to build a website and it's not all that easy. And
yeah,
I've actually paid for it, the domain name and all that stuff. And it's
yep,
like, yeah, I just blew money up my bum
right,
because I'm not doing anything with it and I can't. I know what I
yep,
like when I see it, but I can't to put all the puzzle pieces together. It's like,
correct,
no. So.
yep, that's awesome. Yeah. Yeah, it's cool. I mean, but and then if people are interested, I'll put if you want to check things out, you can look up Adam Hawkins. That's my music name. So anybody that's into downloading, you can go to look me up in all the major download sites. And so you look up Adam Hawkins. The CD is called First Flight. Let the Journey Begin. It's just Native American music or Native American flute, and I essentially take you on a journey, and it's completely up to you as to how you want to receive it. I wrote it that way, which is weird to say it like that, but we all have various things that we could use or need help with,
Mhm.
and so if you're having trouble sleeping at night, you set that intention. "Hey, I would like this to help me fall asleep at night." And sure enough, it helps those people. Or I've had people, tell me it helped them get through addiction and stress, anxiety, all those kind of things. So it's
Louise just found your YouTube channel, so she's going to follow you. She's going to subscribe to your channel.
cool. Yeah, right now it's just a lot of the lives that I do, because I do a show on Saturday mornings. So right now it's just the lives. I was trying to create content a couple years ago into actually into last year, and then I just got sidetracked with the pandemic and things. But I was trying to create small little YouTube videos that 5 to 10 minutes long that would I'd talk about touch base on a topic, and I'd be out in nature doing it, so it was a little bit more
Yeah.
connected. Yes, that is correct, Gina. I just saw her on the side. Yep, that's how you spell it.
Yeah. Well,
So
Claire Louise has already subscribed to your channel. She is Paranormal Explorer 666. Oh, I love those numbers.
I do,
'Cause I
yeah.
love it when people get all petrified about it. It's like, no, it all means that you just need more work to do on yourself. There's just things that just not.
Yep.
Trust me, it's not that obvious for the devil to get you.
Right.
Usually he's got red hair, and I'm like, okay, good. I'm the, I'm his sister. That's all.
Right.
But yeah, everybody go subscribe to Adam's channel. on YouTube, and because I'm going to bug him. I'm going to make him do some more work on it, because I did that to Gina when Gina and I first got together. I was, you need to expand your,
Oh yeah. Yep.
so I'm a bit of a pain in the butt. And also, one of the things that you can do is even Jay does this, is all your videos that you do, all your lives that you do, just download the audio and then upload it to Anchor FM. It's free. It's one of those real expensive ones. It's free. And
Okay.
it sends it out automatically. It sends it out to like 8 different other platforms. Just
Wow.
the audio, and it's like, I
That's
was like,
cool. I like that.
nice.
Thank you
Yeah.
for sharing that. I didn't know that.
I'm a shareaholic, sorry.
No, I appreciate it. Well, and that's the thing that's great about, much like what your show is about. We're all connecting and we're all, you know, there's no big secrets out there. So, I mean, in case one person doesn't know something, it share it along because they're going to share it, and we're all going to just be helping each other out as we move through our life and in this part of our dimension.
Yeah. And I think that's what makes, for me, some people kind of get tired of my stuff, but too bad. I will find a silver lining to everything. I think everything has, like my intro, I think everybody's a friend. You just have to have a conversation and find that connection. There's always a connection.
I will
Oh,
tell you, I think a
go
great
ahead.
story to back exactly that.
Okay.
So everybody's looking at me and there's like, okay, he's this hairy looking dude. He's got long hair, he might even have this sort of demeanor about him. And it's interesting because there was an event I did and, you know, I had my banners and everything out. And it was interesting is that there was about 4 or 5 other mediums there. And all of them had people waiting in lines at their tables. I had nobody. And I'm okay with it. I'm comfortable
Yeah.
because if they're not connecting with me, please go to who you're connected to because
Right.
it doesn't bother me. And so I was fine with it. And so we all of us had chances to speak because it was also, while we were there, we were invited to speak, for a half an hour, 45 minutes. Well, I get up there and, I say my thing, just like, we're doing now. We're just kind of go through some stuff. And the next thing I know, everybody's at my table and all their tables are empty. And so it's weird to think that we still judge people the way they look and things, but
Exactly.
yet just because of how I talked about things and how I shared it and you get to hear how I sound and the mannerisms, the tone and things, I'm all in it to have fun. I'm in it to share. I like to make people laugh and you know, it finally people realize he's not that scary. Right. I'm not gonna be scary.
I
you
haven't
know,
gone to Jay Lynch's table. That's for sure.
but it is kind of interesting. But so yeah, it's funny is once I open my mouth, people finally are like, "Oh,"
Hey, he's a
and
nice guy.
yeah,
Yeah.
we get into it. Okay, I'm down for watching it, and even then, like my family will catch some of my shows, but they've never seen me do a presentation. Well, a couple years ago, at our Parafest, I did a presentation, and sure enough, what ended up happening was is my dad, came up to me, goes, wow. He goes, that was really good. He goes, I see you do your shows, but wow. He goes, you really, and that was huge for me
Yeah.
just to get him. I mean, not that he's, against anything I do, but, it was just neat to hear him say it like that. Cause like
Yeah.
I said,
Like our parents are proud of us no matter what we do, but it's to actually see you in action in what you like. This kind of conversation is one way. We're always having fun, but when you see you in action with your talks, we sort of change, and it's not something we do automatically. It's just kind of sort of a natural thing. So, but like you said, it's an important part. We don't go out searching for it, but it's like when your parent says, "Wow," it's like when for me, my parents are passed. And when I did tell my mother what I was kind of sort of doing, she was in the beginning stages of dementia. So she had to ask my brother, what is your sister doing? Because she was living out with him. And so my brother called me up one day and says, no, I hear you're a medium. I went, no, I'm kind of like large, close to extra large. My brother and I have this love-hate relationship. I love to hate him, and he hates to love me.
there you go. Oh, it works out just great.
Exactly. And
Love it.
but
Yep.
it's something that is, no matter how old you get, your mother, your father, Like for me, I can't remember how old I was, kind of oldish, and I fell down the stairs. I was a mom, I was a wife, but I fell down the stairs and on my tuchus and don't. And the first thing out of my mouth when I hit that stair was mommy. I mean, I was in my 30s,
Yeah.
30s, 40s, and that's the first thing that came out. Bye, Claire. Thanks for coming in. That's the first thing out of my mouth, and it's strange that my husband goes like, "You didn't even call for me. You called for your mother." I was like, you know, Hmm. I'm a mama's girl. I don't know to say. It was just, non-reaction. So having your dad's approval and the kind of that wow moment, I'm sure that was like, yes, dad likes.
Yeah, I think everybody, kind of wants that kind of pat on the back, from your folks. I mean, like we're saying, it's, just that, it's one thing to have, all, friends and people that don't know you, but they see you or watch you and things, and they have that moment of like, if anything, as long as I could be referred to as, somebody that was at least nice enough that was willing to listen,
Yeah,
whatever else is fine. At least because I love talking to people, and if they got stories to share, I mean, I'm going to listen to every single word that they have to say. It's not, I'm just going to blow them off and move on. I mean, I generally are going to sit there, and I mean, I've done things where I've, talked to people for way too long, and I've needed to do other things, but I wanted to give them that time, that space, and really show that, I care, and
yeah.
it comes out a lot. I
But it's true. A lot of people kind of listen but don't actually hear. And
Right.
this is what you do: is you don't only just listen, but you hear what they say.
Ooh.
And and Rhonda in the chat room said, "Adam is truly a great person. Blessed to have him as a friend."
Rhonda's a great friend. She is. She's awesome herself, and always great to see her and things. I will say that I was taught this by a Native American elder on what you just were saying. Um, the there's a big reason why we have two ears and only one mouth.
Hmm.
It's because we're supposed to listen twice as much as we are to speak.
Yeah, believe that. Except
So,
sometimes it's hard to shut me out, but it's like,
well,
okay,
sometimes it's okay, but
yeah,
I think
yeah,
we all know when we need to kind of like, okay, yep.
yeah.
What do we
Like
got?
a lot of people want to talk to me because they know I listen to them, I hear them, I understand what they're saying. I may not have been through the situation, but I can sympathize, I can empathize,
Correct.
and I think that's important. And one thing, it's okay, Dave. We're still kind of sort of live, but you're forgiven. He's over in the UK. Sorry, he's in Australia, so he's early morning.
Very cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
But I have to say that you do not shy away from people. I was like, when I first, because I wait till I saw you on Jay and Jason's show, and I was like, I like this guy. Something interesting about him. And for me, I have a weird thing and I don't like or comment on anybody's stuff unless I've seen them three times in my something. Something about you has to pop up three times. And it's not like I go searching for you. It's not like I liked it or followed you. And it's like, okay, there's the third time. Gosh darn it. And he's poor sucker stuck with me now. So if anybody's my friend, I saw you three times before I said yes.
That's well, and that's really kind of neat. Even like with the algorithms and things that you kind of have to, if you want to see something pop up a little bit more, you do have to like something or
Yeah,
comment once in a while for it to kind of get to show back up. So for it to keep sneaking around for that, that's kind of cool. I'm
yeah.
glad it did.
There's a reason to it,
Yeah.
And three for me is a magic number. When my mom passed, I was talking about her on one of my shows, and my lights never flashed before in my life. And it's one of those neon thingies that's supposed to last 100 bajillion years. It flashed three times, and I was like, "Okay, mom, yeah, gotcha." So my lucky number used to be 7, 14, and 21, but it's like the standard thing. But it's three, so I always go with threes, and it always works out. But so for me, that's why the three times that you pop into my feed is like, okay, fine.
I
There's
like that.
something I have to learn from this
I
person.
like that. That is so cool. I've never, it's weird because you don't usually hear people do, think or attempt to try to do something like that,
Yeah,
with others and stuff. But at the same time, you know, it, you don't always have to jump in. I mean, check things out, research and stuff. So yeah, I mean, am I going to be everybody's, favorite? No, but that's okay. Again, like I said earlier, everybody's going to go to who they're connected to, and whether you at least can listen to it for a few minutes, okay, that's cool. I appreciate it.
Exactly. Gina says 9 is her lucky number. If I popped into your view 9 times, that's a scary thing.
It could happen.
There you go. You never know with me. Well, Gina's been on my show before we were co-hosting together. She's been on my show and I've been on her show. And then one day she says, "How'd you like to do a temporary co-host gig?" She can't get rid of me now. I think it was. It's going to be a year soon. I think in March.
Nice.
My God. She hasn't wanted to kill me yet, but because of her, as I always say, because of her, I'm building a castle. Because I have a swear jar. And Gina swears. Not on the air, but she swears. So every time she swears, I put American money in my swear jar. So like it's worth $1. What did I say? $1.28 up here in Canada. So even if I swear and I pay her $1, I'm paying her $1 Canadian. I still make 28 cents on it. So I'm building a castle.
That's right. And you know what? And that's like she did. She obviously, that connection and
Yeah.
how you feed off of each other, that's so huge. I mean, I do another show on Wednesdays with a good friend of mine, another medium, and same thing. I mean, she's, older than me, but it doesn't really matter. I mean, hell, we've been referred to as like husband and wife at times when we're out in public doing events. And so, but we just connect and we do tandem readings. So we'll sit down with one person and if she's going, she's rocking it out, and maybe I'm not getting as much, or vice versa, or I'm adding on to what she's getting, and so it's amazing, when you do finally get a good connection like that, and you're able to work together, and however, whatever form it is, it's the results are cool.
Oh yeah, they are. When I first met Gina, she had 1 or 2 decks, and I have a thing for decks. I
Okay.
collect them, and I have 35 or more decks. It's a mix of oracle and tarot, but even the tarot cards I read like oracle cards. I say I'm an interpreter. I don't read it. I'm an interpreter. And yes, I'll marry you, Gina. Let's just not tell my husband or Bob. They'll be like jealous boys. See. But when she went out and she aided to my addiction, or I aided to, she now has more decks. But we do every so often, we will do card draws. We will do a show if a guest doesn't show up, or do a pop-up. And she's learning how to read the way I do, sort of, because I don't read like you have the book and you have I don't read the book. Sometimes people will say, "What does the book say?" Then I'll give them the book meaning. But the first thing I was kind of off another woman. She said, "What's the first thing about the card that pops up to you?" That's what you're connecting with.
That's it.
Or that's what that person needs to connect with. And we do that. And when we do that, our cards almost always complement each other.
That's great.
And Gina just reminded me that Thursday in the Fox Den, we our guest for one reason or another couldn't make it, so we're going to do a reading show. We're going to do draws, do some cards.
All right.
So people, 2 hours of nonsense. I mean, of Gina and I.
What time do you start?
We start at 8:00.
Okay.
Eastern Standard Time.
I will have to catch you for a little bit.
I will send you a tag you in when I do the posting of the show. So
yeah, that'd be great. I love that stuff, and that's interesting because the way you just described it is exactly how I was taught.
Yeah,
you don't have to read it from what the book's definition is.
Yeah,
you go off of what what your feelings. Maybe you got your guides coming in there, kind of help directing you a little bit. I
yeah.
love that. And so I started doing a little bit of tarot, but again, just non-traditional. And then I have some oracle decks. I've now started to kind of increase my deck collection. Still not that far yet, but
Isn't it fun?
I think I'm probably getting close to 10 maybe now. But I found a couple other decks that I haven't even opened up yet officially. So there's some things that I need to do it soon.
No, it's like people go, "How can you have 35?" I don't know. And when I do a reading for people, I don't choose the decks. It's like somebody says, "How did you choose the decks?" I don't. I have one style that I do. I call it a solitaire reading.
Okay.
It's like solitaire. There has to be at least 7 decks. And I don't have pre-chosen decks. I'm just sort of like, they're all up on their shelf. And I go, "Okay, Who wants to play today?
Hmm.
And whatever I'm drawn to gets, and it always, without fail, the card from each deck always complements or combines with the reading beforehand. And people are like, how did you choose? I don't choose them.
Yeah.
It's like the very first time I bought my own deck. Um, I went into a store here where I live. It's mostly French, and few and far between do I get, because I'm kind of like out in the boonies. Do I get English decks? But I went into this one store. It's in our neighborhood, and I said, "Okay, who are you? Who's calling to me? I need to, I need my first deck."
Yeah.
And I didn't even know where the English section was. That's how bizarre our little burg is. And I just sort of went with the feeling, and I put my hand on the deck and I opened it up, and it was Doreen Virtue's Healing with the Angels.
Aha.
And I had just finished my healer's course or was just about to start with my Reiki master. So I thought, hello, everything works for a reason.
Yes. That's
So, but it's
awesome.
fun. Like Gina said, she started with tarot.
Yeah. That's great.
And I think it's great that people try different things. It's like for me, I've always been stuck with oracle cards, but then I was drawn to a couple of tarot cards. But people go, "Do you read them like tarot?" No, it's just all the same. Hey, Rosemary, it's just the same thing. It's just what grabs me, and I can't tell you whether it's, if it's my guys, whether it's the universe,
Right.
or it just happens, and I
Yes.
love that people
Yeah.
are open to that nowadays.
Absolutely, 100%. And it's, I think it's becoming a little bit more, understanding, and I still love, watching, the traditional tarot readers, and they're flop, you're doing the flop, so to speak, and they're
Mhm.
laying it all down, and they can go through it I mean, that's awesome. I mean, I think, it's just how some of us have just been able to adapt it to what we're doing, and we've created our own styles, much like what we talked about in the beginning, and we're all just adding to the whole thing of what makes us us, unique, and we're not like we're copying somebody exactly. I mean, we learn from it and then put our energy into it.
Yeah, there's a medium in New Jersey, Chris George. He does. Uh, uh, Gina, help me. He does it like poker. It's a poker reading, and
Okay.
he sits at a table and he's got a bunch of decks, and he's drawn to whatever he's drawn to, and he does it just. I've never seen him do it, but I've heard a lot of people comment on it. It's like, did I really have to get one done just because I want to see it in action?
Right.
you
Right.
know and he's true. He is true. When you sit there and think of, psychic poker, that's what it's called. Thank you, G.
I love it.
If you think of what an Italian guy from Jersey is, this guy is the epitome. He is what you think, and he is hysterical as all out. But when it's time, like everything else, when it's time to be serious about stuff, he can be. Haven't seen much of it, but it's
Right.
good. Everybody's discussing their decks in the chat room. Rhonda has, I love my fairy oracle cards.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I was gonna say, since well, you and Gina together have an amazing, collection of, massive amounts of decks. That's my issue. And luckily I've done a lot better over the years. I've slowed down tremendously, but when it comes to Native American flutes, um, yeah, I stopped counting when I started getting into the 60s, 70s, 80s. I stopped. And they're all different sizes. They're all, keyed differently. They're different woods, and so some of them have some of them are plain, some of them have artwork, some of them have carvings on it. Some of them are one of a kinds because I've worked with the flute maker to design something unique. And so I get it. That's how it was for me with Native American flutes. You see one, it's like, well, I got to have this one now, and I need this key signature because Native American flutes are only tuned one way. Well, there's a major and a minor, but there's one key, and so whereas other instruments you can kind of change things around a little bit, but uh, it's uh, it's kind of wild, and I did have to stop for it because the amount of money you put into some of them.
It's true.
Woo!
But I have where I used to work, we have a gentleman in our town. He, for a lot of reasons, he has, we'll say, mental issues,
Okay.
but he's an amazing musician. He is there. I'm not sure what Native American he's part of or Native person that he's part of, but he can make you. He made a flute, a native flute, and he was playing it one day, and I looked at him. I was like, "Dude, that's a mop handle. That's the mop handle that was we had put in the trash." He took it and took it back to his home, and he fixed it, and he makes the most exquisite music with that.
I'll be darned.
He makes drums. He gets people will give him the skins. He does the cleaning and the stretching, and he one time he did it on a pot. I was like, dude. And before I hurt myself, he was supposed to make me my own drum. He says, like, do you want me to I said, no, you do whatever you want to do to it.
Yeah.
That's your. I want you as part of it. But unfortunately, I haven't worked in almost 2 years, so I was like, I'll be there whenever I get back to work. Hopefully, maybe. Who knows?
Right.
But I think that's the thing. Like you said, you've got a few flutes, but that's something else you can look into. Is try just for the heck of it, try and make your own. Because, like I said, you never think of these things. He made it out of a mop handle because it was just like I think it was plastic, and it was hollow, and it was just and it's the sound that came from it. I was like, you can't play that in the store, but go sit on the edge of the sit on the edge of the property. I'll open my speaker so I get to hear it because it was really nice.
That's cool. I mean, and that's such a talent too to be able to, be able to do that because even the Native American style. I mean, it's not something you can just whip out overnight. You
No.
really can't. Most of them take several days to a week, and even then, depending on how detailed you're making them.
Yeah. And the intention that you put in with them. Gina, and I happen to agree. Do you have any handy that you would like to play for us? I know we're running overtime, so if you want to tell me no, it's fine, but I won't.
I have a plastic one. I have a plastic Native American flute, which will still be it'll still give it. It's one that I take when I know that I'm going to, there's the possibility of getting damaged. So that way, if the wooden ones, they do cost some money, some of them. So I'm not going to go out into the woods, unless I know I've got them really bundled up. But
I like your chair, by the way.
It's kind of more of like a gaming style chair, but I can literally almost lay flat on it. That's how cool it is.
Oh Lord, I'll probably fall asleep on it. That I'm saying chairs because last week during my show, my chair dropped.
Oh, no.
And trying to show, so I was kind of like this for half a second until I just like. So my guest said anything that any of the book sales that she did on the show were going towards buying me a new chair. I was like, okay.
Yeah, that's what you need, a whole, fund for that kind of, the when things break or.
Oh yeah.
So like I
it
said,
would be fine if they didn't do it live on the air.
Right, yeah, because oh my gosh, imagine that. So this is, like I said, this is just more of a plastic one, so it's the same thing as the Native Americans. One thing I'll do when I hold it up closer to there, so the little piece right here, they call that the sound block, and a lot of them are going to be a little bit bigger. And what it's doing is just to describe so people understand how this works. Native Americans were really smart about things. So most people know that when you play flute, it's transverse style. So you blow like this, and you
Yeah.
usually are blowing over to create the sound. And you have to have a correct embouchure and everything. Well, Native Americans figured it out to where technically this is two flutes. So you have a chamber here, it hits a dead wall right here, comes back up, and I'll pull the block back a little bit, and you can see that what
Oh,
ends up happening is it does the same thing in transverse style, but it hits this block and blows over the top of they call it the fipple hole, and creates your tone.
nice.
They
See,
really were
but
smart
you're
about
learning
that.
something today.
Yep. And I do well, I didn't last year because of COVID, but I usually go to a preschool locally and do a little 15-minute demo of the Native American flutes and
Oh,
and drums
nice.
and things. So yeah, I'll just play for just a minute or two and give everybody a little something.
Oh my gosh, thank you very much. That was nice. Oh, everybody's. Gina wants to know if you can come play for us on Thursday night. We can have it in the background. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get a hold of your music, and I'll see if I can figure out how to play it in the background of our show.
Yeah, that'd be great. That would be
Because it's
awesome.
like the intro to my show. The woman gave me permission to use her music, and it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Gina's applauding, going more.
Well, yeah, I mean, and even then, I could easily we could always come back another time or something like that, and we could do a little bit more flute stuff, and I can bring more out. Or I've been
I won't say no.
yeah, yeah. So and I can bring some of my the favorites and some of my really the ones that have so much more meaning to them for me, and the history that they are. And there's a lot of there's certain ones that just mean so much to me, and they're so near and dear. And when I get to play them, it's just it's more magical for me. It's
Yeah.
whether anybody else connects to it, but for me, it's like I get kind of lost in my own little world when I get to play some of them. So
That makes sense. Well, maybe because I'm going to be going on a little bit of a hiatus this show, maybe I think I know a couple of ladies who would be love to have you over on their show, and we can make it any day of the week that you want, except for Thursdays because they're booked until the new moon in
okay,
2022.
okay,
But we will. Gina and I would love to have you on, right, Gina? No, don't
okay,
argue now.
yeah,
And we'll do it and that's a 2 hour show.
okay,
And that's from 8 to 10.
okay,
So you can bring them all out and we'll talk about
yeah.
that.
We
Yeah,
can certainly let's do it. We'll talk. Yeah,
definitely.
I'd be in.
Well, it is now 6:08. I thank you for doing this a little bit extra with me. I thank you. So far, my husband's not growling, so he's still got some snacks. We're good.
I
Just
appreciate that.
hungry
Glad,
bear.
but you did right by giving them a little extra to hang in
I
there. So
do that. I'm not,
not your
there's
first rodeo.
there's no blonde hair in this naturally. Anyway, I did I it's got some blonde now. So if I mess up, I can say, I was a blonde.
Right,
So 40, so Gina says, so 45 minutes of music and 15 minutes of talk
right, right,
for the first hour. And the second hour, we'll just, we'll figure
right.
something. We'll do meetings. We'll have, because Adam also has cards.
It's
I've,
true.
I've
It's
been
true.
in on one of your readings and it was very, very nice.
Yeah.
Tracy says, thank you very much.
Oh,
Rhonda says, night. Well, good night, everybody. And I will see you next week when I have an author on
mhm.
for, I believe it's crime dramas or spooky. I can't remember right now, but he's a new friend. Another one who
Oh,
popped up 3 times in my books.
I love
All
it.
right, everybody. I'll see y'all next week. You just hang
Thank
tight.
you. Thank you so much.